This weekend, main event of a fight night, Cory Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, who do I think is going to win? I think it's a very easy decision. I think Cory Sandhagen is going to win, and this is why. Basically, you look at Cory Sandhagen's record, and he was even on interview this week saying it. He's like, I'm tired of the guy that's almost winning but doesn't. And it's true. Like, Cory Sandhagen's a really good fighter. Really, really good fighter. Don't get me wrong. But the problem is, he tends to, I would say he's more of like a top 5 gatekeeper. He does really well against anyone outside of the top 5 or who belongs to the top 5, because Umar was outside of the top 5 before that. But no, he does really well. He's very, very, very technical. A criticism that could be made is he does do a lot of decisions. And, you know, for better or for worse, he doesn't have nuclear power in his hands. He does get finishes from time to time. And like I said, he was on a 3-fight win streak before he lost to Umar. And he looked really good in all of them. The Rob Font fight was a little dull just because I think he had an injury going into that. So he just wrestled the whole time. Showed a new aspect of his game, which is great. But obviously you can tell by his technique and his form, he's not a natural wrestler. But yeah, and then he got to Umar Nurmagomedov. By no means did he get ran through, dominated. But, you know, Umar was obviously the better fighter on that night. And I think part of Cory Sandhagen's problem is I think he just overthinks everything. And I think, like I said, I think he's a little too technical for his own good. He never often, stands put and just throws bombs in the pocket. He's more of like a hit, jab, circle around, hit, jab, kick. Like he has a lot of tools in his toolbox, but he tends not to get the finish on the higher level of the division. Now, saying that, Deiveson Figueiredo, and look at that. Their records are the same. They were on a 3-fight win streak, and then they lost their last fight as well. So Deiveson Figueiredo, decision against Rob Font, submission against Cody Garbrandt, but Cody Garbrandt is not the Cody Garbrandt of old. Let's just say that. He's nowhere near the guy who fought Cruz. And then you got decision against Marlon Vera. People were saying that Marlon Vera came back a little too early, which, to each his own. You can have your opinion on that. And then Peter Yan, he lost the decision. Now, saying this, I think Deiveson Figueiredo, the only advantage he has in this fight would be the power in his hands. He's obviously coming up from flyweight, so he does not have the frame of a bantamweight. He does not have, the opposing, sure, he does have power, but it's not nuclear by any means, because, he does get knockdowns, but I just don't think he has enough power to where it'll throw Cory Sandhagen off the entire time. Peter Yan clearly outstruck him. And the thing is, as well, you look at Deiveson Figueiredo's age, 37. That's prehistoric for the lower weight classes. Call it how it is. He is 5'5", and comparing him to Cory Sandhagen is currently 33, and he is 5'11". So he's got a big fucking height advantage for sure, and the youth advantage as well. So that'll definitely help him in the later rounds. Cory Sandhagen can easily go all 5 rounds without a doubt. Maybe that's due to the lack of finishing potential and, huge power on his hands. But, he can go the 5 rounds. That much is clear. Now, Deiveson Figueiredo, is it impossible for him to win? No. This is not a nightmare matchup for him. I just think Cory Sandhagen is just going to keep it long. I think he's going to... That's the thing. I think Deiveson can take him down for sure, without a doubt. But I just don't think, like I said, he doesn't have the frame of a bantamweight. I don't think he can keep Cory Sandhagen down there. I think Cory Sandhagen will pop right back up and get right back to what he's doing the best. I think he's going to, flick the jab out, lead kick, calf kick. I just think Cory Sandhagen is going to be a few steps ahead in this fight, everywhere. I don't believe Deiveson. I don't believe Deiveson will get a submission on Cory Sandhagen. I think Cory Sandhagen's really just coming into his prime, and I think that Deiveson Figueiredo, if he was in like flyweight, I think he would definitely be a lot more dangerous. But in the bantamweight, I think they both have the same problem. I don't think either one of them is going to be champion. I think Deiveson Figueiredo, if he was a bit bigger and younger, there could be an argument for that. But I just think that obviously the weight cut to 125 that late in the game, I think he's just like, nah, I'm done with that. Rightfully so. Same thing with Aljamain. Like he was done with the 35 weight cut. A lot of fighters do that in the tail end of their career. But no, I think Cory Sandhagen's got another run in him for sure, title-wise. And that's the thing. He was saying that, if I win, that the fight that everyone wants to see is him versus O'Malley. And that would be a hardcore dream for sure. But I don't know if they would do that for O'Malley if O'Malley lost the title shot. And let's say O'Malley loses and he doesn't beat Merab. I don't think they're going to want to do Cory versus O'Malley next. I think for whatever reason, Sean O'Malley they want him to be their star. So I think they're going to give him another easier matchup than that. And that's the thing. Cory Sandhagen was saying that, if he wins this in dominant fashion, which I think he will win in dominant fashion, I just don't think he's going to get a finish. I think he's going to call for a title shot. I don't think they're going to give it to him. I think that that's the thing. Even if Merab hasn't fought him yet, I just don't see Cory Sandhagen bringing anything different to the table that Merab hasn't seen. Like, maybe he has a bit better wrestling than O'Malley, but not by much. And I just don't think that he has the tools to really get Merab out of there. To get Merab out of there, we've seen Umar do it. Well, not do it, but become very close. He just faded off in the later rounds. I think you need to have that kind of style, where like a wrestle heavy style. But I think you also need like big power in your hands. I think like the style to beat Merab would be like an Ilia Topuria, where you have huge power, really good takedown defense and everything like that. I don't think Merab will get like TKO'd by a kick. I think if anything, you have to back him up against defense and get into a boxing exchange to get him out of there, because you throw a kick, the guy's grabbing your leg and taking you down every time. So I think someone needs to have like an Ilia Topuria kind of style to get Merab out of there. And that's why I don't think Merab's going to lose to Sean O'Malley. I think Sean O'Malley, the worst thing Sean O'Malley's doing is he's like cutting out every single negative thing out of his life and all that. Like no weed, no this, no that, no that. And good on you, you know what I mean? Like you want to live the professional lifestyle. But at the same time with that mentality, it's like if you lose again, what are you going to blame it on? And I know it's not a great, attitude to have or whatever, but if he does 100% everything, he doesn't do anything outside of just eat, sleep, train, all that, once he loses, that'll be a mental nightmare. You know what I mean? Because you'll have nowhere to blame the excuses on. You'll have no one to be like, oh, well, if I didn't do this, I would have done this. Unless he has an injury in the camp, he has nothing to blame it on. And I think that, I don't know, I think Umar definitely can beat Merab. I think maybe Umar was a bit too young when he fought Merab. I think in the next year or so, if Umar challenged again for the title, I think he would be able to beat Merab. I don't think he'd be able to finish Merab because Merab is very tough. He's on it lately, but no, you need a natural wrestling base to actually defeat Merab. So that's the thing. I think, tangent aside, I think Cory Sandhagen will win tonight on the fight night card. I think he will beat Deiveson. Classic Cory Sandhagen style by decision. I think Cory Sandhagen's saying he's going to be like this new, improved, all that. I don't think he will be. I think, you can sharpen your tools and stuff, but I think at the end of the day, Cory Sandhagen is more of a decision kind of guy. I know the UFC doesn't love that, but it is what it is. Yeah. And then do I think he's going to get a title shot? No. Should he? There's an argument because just if Merab wants to keep active, he can. But I don't know. I don't see Cory Sandhagen bringing anything to the table that Merab hasn't seen. So, like I said, I think it's going to be clear, I'd say 49-47, 49-46 kind of thing. Not by like dropping Deiveson, but I just clearly outstriking him and keeping him on the feet, keeping it rangy. And yeah, that's my prediction for this weekend. Cory Sandhagen by decision. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.